Hi, this is Bobby Kimbrough, and welcome to Off the Cuffs. I'm very excited today to have Dr. Hairston with me today, the superintendent from Forsyth County. I want to welcome you to Off the Cuffs. I've been looking forward to this, and I'm glad you're here. Welcome to Off the Cuffs, Doc.
It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Pleasure's mine. So, a lot of people know who you are, but there's probably maybe one or two people out there that don't know who you are. They don't know when you got here, where you arrived from. I've done my research on you. Very impressive resume. We're glad and we're very fortunate to have you here. Not only are you talented, but you're the first African-American superintendent that we've ever had in the history of this school system. So tell us about you, where you're from, and tell us a little bit about you.
Well, recently I moved here from, and I don't guess it's recently, it's almost a year.
Yeah.
September 3rd, I arrived in as superintendent. Very excited to be here. Most thought I was from Georgia because I spent so much time in Georgia, but I grew up right up the road in Danville, Virginia.
Danville, that's up the road.
Yes, it is, and it's good to be close to home.
Wow, wow. So what's it like when you got here? What were you expecting? Was it everything you expected, or was it more challenging? Or what was it like?
There were lots of challenges.
You can tell us the truth
but yeah, lots of challenges, but a great community, a great board, wanting to work in the right direction. And I can tell you, I have not worked in a community in which you have so many partners, the Ministers Alliance, the business partners, the chamber, even your department wanting to support kids. And so that has been a refreshing
How large is Forsyth County school system? I know that we are the fourth largest county in the state of North Carolina.
Excuse me. I'm
you're
so
fine.
sorry.
You're fine.
We have 53,000 students.
Wow.
53,000 students. I'm excited to say in the midst of COVID, we've enrolled 600 additional students who live in our county but were not students in past years. So we're actually growing in the midst of COVID.
So you have 53,000 students?
Yes, we do.
How many, what's your staff like?
3,000 teachers.
Wow.
We have close to 7,000 employees. Some substitutes that take us up to around 9,000 employees. And so we are a large organization.
I'd say so.
Uh-huh.
So you know what? A lot of people ask the question, how has COVID changed school system? How has it changed? Every day I was sharing with you before we started how my son been asking the question, when we go into practice, what school going to be like this? So how has it changed? Well, what kind of things have changed since then?
First I have to look at this from a mother's perspective. I have 5 children, 2 in-laws, so there are 7 I consider my children in all. And I can tell you that it's very difficult trying to answer those questions for children, and you just don't know the answer. And people ask, well, haven't you had a similar experience before? And we haven't. So it's difficult for my daughter in Minnesota not to be able to come home. I fly home. It's hard not to see your own children and children who are with me, who live with me. It's hard to explain to them what's around the corner, and children are expecting us to have all the answers. So I try to think from a mother's perspective about, the school district. And children want a sense of being normal. I grew up in Danville, and Danville's a small town.
I've been to Danville. I'm 29, right?
Yeah, that's right. And we had to entertain ourselves to some degree. We created our own fun growing up. But children today want engagement. They want to be on their sports teams. They want to see their friends. They're very interactive. And so it's very challenging. So it's changed a lot for us. We've gone to online learning, as you're probably aware, and logistics behind online learning is new, but not so new. And we're learning from past experiences.
So let me back you up. Most people that grow up in a small town don't leave the small town.
That's
so
right.
Where did you leave and go to undergraduate at?
I went to undergraduate. I went to Averett, which is in Danville, but then I ventured off to Hampton University, then Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
And so that leads you to realize you can handle a little bit bigger city.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Uh-huh. Yeah. Hampton, Virginia. That's strong.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one thing I do want to share with a group of you, if that's okay.
Of course.
I mentioned online learning, and we know for children, for many children, that works. But for many children, it doesn't work. So I want to share the concept of our CARES team, which you might have heard of. And our CARES teams will be throughout the entire county. We'll have 5 teams. Those teams will go out and reach out to students who are not engaged. Some students who may tell the parents, I don't have school today. And we will have teams boots on the ground. And we hope that some of our SROs will be able to join our teams while we're out of school and not in a non-threatening way. Go to homes, community centers, meet our children, and try to provide services for children who have lost their way. Children who haven't been able to log in and really take advantage of the opportunities that are out there.
I was going to ask you that because I remember toward the end of the school year when they went to online learning, I saw something in the newspaper where Guilford County, I want to say 6,000 kids never logged in.
Yes,
and so
right.
I was wondering how was that going to affect those kids that don't have the ability to log in or just chose not to log in? How will it affect them in terms of their education, their learning process? Does that put them further behind? Because I know myself, I'm not the best online learner. I get more from a classroom setting, you know. And while I've learned this new thing of online learning now, you had no choice.
Right.
But I can just imagine as a younger me how difficult that would have been for me, or even my sons. I mean, I almost have to threaten them to get them to log in, you know, to the point to where if I get another email from your teacher saying you hadn't finished X number of assignments, you and me gonna have smoke. That's what I have to tell them. We're gonna have it. Smoke mean we're gonna have a problem, right? You know, and so I can imagine what other parents are going through, trying to get their kids to stay motivated and to log in. So tell me, so you say the CARES team is going to be that team that'll be out there. So you're going to be monitoring the kids that are not logging in.
Exactly. We'll have face-to-face instruction, more of that this time. The Zoom, the Microsoft Teams. But we've got to be the smoke. We've got to get out there, and I don't know how much we will be able to really force all kids to engage. But our goal is to hire some community members, social workers, translators to be a part of each team. There will be 5 teams in the district. We've already identified the homes in which children did not engage and didn't log in, and we'll knock on those doors and first show parents how to set up your home so that children can be there, because we provide the laptops and the Wi-Fi devices.
Really?
So there's no excuse not to have access.
So all of the kids' homes that are going to be doing this, they have access to the internet.
Absolutely. They have the Wi-Fi device and the laptop.
Wow.
But oftentimes children, for whatever, we just don't know why. People have all things going on. We did find out we had several students who chose to work. They got jobs during the day when their parents were not able to work, and they went to work. And we've got to help children by maybe doing some after-hours type of activities. If you have a family and due to COVID, there's unemployment in the family, children unfortunately are having to make those choices.
So how does that work? So let's say I go online to log in, and I'm a at-home learner.
Yes.
I'm graded the same way that the guy across the street is, across town is. So do you think that is more effective than the classroom? And I know that you have no control over being in the classroom. That's way beyond our control. Do you think it's the same quality of education?
I think
Just
it
your
can.
personal opinion.
Well, I think it can be, depending on the learner.
Okay.
I think it can be the same quality, especially if there's face-to-face. But it does take support. It takes more support because someone has to be there to hold the student accountable for doing those offline activities. And hopefully our teachers will be able to do that. But that's where the CARES team step in.
And see, that's where I was concerned at right there, that support. Because
that support.
I know with my schedule, if I was home and my kids are teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
One is a self-starter, the other one is, I can't say Kickstarter, but he is not a self-starter. Mm-hmm. So my point is that I can only imagine in houses where the kids are not self-starters and they don't have a support group that are falling down. So this care group, I mean, that's very interesting to me, and I'm grateful that you have that in place, because that was one of my concerns when I heard this whole concept is who's going to be, or what's the backup plan, or what is the quality control piece of it to make sure that we're not leaving any kids behind. Because, you and I know when we look at learning across large cities of this size, there's a certain group of people that continuously fall behind.
Absolutely.
And so I want to make sure that no kid is really being left behind. What do you need from the community? What do you need from the office of the people, the sheriff's office? Because one of the things that, I think I've always said this, and I'm sure your husband will attest to this, is that there are social issues in our society that become criminal issues. And education is the key emancipator. And when you don't have education, it's difficult to compete, read, and write in this society. And so I want to make sure, because I wonder about this whole thing about online learning. I saw where kids were being passed with, was it COVID-19 pass or whatever the coding was. And I just wondering, I want to make sure. But it seems like to me you guys have done a lot of research, research of went into this, because I had no idea you had the care teams in place. I had no idea that you guys were going to make sure that you had people knocking on doors. I think that is key right there, actually knocking on doors, seeing what's inside that the kids are missing or needs. Because you may find some situation where kids need more than just, they may need something beyond that. And the fact that you're going there says a lot about that. You definitely have your hands full.
Yeah. Well, we really need help from the community in identifying centers. Oftentimes,
so you say centers, you're talking about locations?
Locations, church centers, libraries, community centers, places where children might go. If you walk into a home and you see that there are 5 children and they can't space and learn because there's so much going on with the 5 or 4 or 3 or whatever, we would like to be able to refer them to a location where they can sit quietly and go online to work with their teacher. We will place tutors there, staff there, one at each center that is available, and within certainly there's a limit, but we certainly will have staff there to be sure children are able to log in, that they're able to connect with their teacher, and there's little disruption in that process. And so Forsyth Promise has agreed to coordinate those services for us. If we can get to Forsyth Promise, Charlotte, Lindell has been wonderful in helping us with her board get these centers identified. And if we could have centers all across the county, children report, we will bring the lunch and the breakfast there for the children. We need the number, but we will provide the lunch and breakfast at the center. And people might say, well, then they can just go to school. Well, the logistics behind screening and social distancing and reporting positive cases, we need time to work out those logistics. But if we had centers that could accommodate anywhere from 5 to 10 children at a time, you can social distance, children can work quietly and be supported in this process. It will change what will happen at the end. We don't want to, we really do not want to leave transition out of COVID with so many children behind in their learning. This is one area where the community can step up.
Do you have all the churches and the centers that you need? I mean, do you have those?
We do not, and we're meeting on a regular basis. Had a community.
Were you trying to put them at strategically locations or something?
Well, the areas that we most had difficulty, of course, was there are certain areas that we've identified, and people are interested. We can identify the location of the church or the community center. and talk about the neighborhood that might be close to that church. When you think about the role that churches have played historically in the lives of many, many people, I mean, historically, the church has been the center. And I know legally we have separated ourselves quite a bit, unfortunately, over the years. But there are opportunities if people do not want to work with the church, to go to community centers and libraries. But we have to have these places open. They can't shut down. We need the Boys and Girls Club open, the YMCA. All of these places should open and accommodate students that are in a safe way as they learn online. And that's the help we need for so many of our children. To be honest with you, half of our children will be fine. Your boys will be fine at home. They will have support at home. And 50% or more of our children will learn from home and be just fine, log on every day. But that group that did not engage last spring, the 6,000 children who did not log in, have other things going on. And it's going to take all of us getting behind them. Otherwise, we'll pay for many, many years for not addressing those 6,000. We will pay for many years.
And that has always been my thing, is that, I've said this many times before, the church is the most powerful entity in our society. I've said that for years. And I think that for a lot of different reasons, the church is the most powerful entity. But I think that the churches are strategically located in communities that we could benefit from them partnering with us to assist a lot of children for a lot of different reasons. So I hope if there's any churches that or locations that you need, that maybe we need to knock on the church door and ask the pastors, we need your help.
And many have signed up. We had an after-school initiative before COVID, and many of our churches, our local churches, stepped in and say, they volunteer their facility for after-school programs. So we're looking for those same pastors, the ministers, to get back in there and open up for our children. August 17th is around the corner, and children need help. Children don't, they don't identify their zip code. They don't identify their circumstance. They're not responsible, the adults. And we can't allow them to slip and slide into a state of just being uneducated. You think about if they're not engaged over this next year or two, it would be impossible to re-engage them after we get through this. And then we have a dropout potential person not being productive in society, and we have too much of that already. So we're hoping people will get behind the Forsyth Promise and behind the CARES Team Project and open up for a few children, own some children you haven't owned before, and help them be successful.
So this is going to take place for 9 weeks, right? Take place for 9 weeks.
Yes, we are. We are online for 9 weeks so that we can logistically bring children back in. But keep in mind that when we bring children in, it will be 2 to 3 days a week at most. Wow. Some children will be able to attend one day because of the social distancing requirements. We can probably accommodate no more than 15 students per class. Only 12 students on a school bus. So getting children to the school, 12 on a 40
so how many
passenger,
trips they got to make?
Lots. So we will not be able to provide transportation for Choice and Magnet. All the buses will be dedicated to residents. Wow. So the logistical piece is the piece that really hinders or ties our hands across the nation in opening schools. It's the right work. You should social distance children. Also, contact tracing. If you're an elementary school student, you test positive, we've got to figure out how many students you've been in contact with and notify those students. So the logistics behind going to school is tremendous, rather. And we have to acknowledge that it will take all of us. But again, opening sites, let's say we have to close a school. We still need those sites when we close schools. If I have several children, and it's inevitable that children and adults will test positive within a school setting. So once they do, we may have to close that site or that classroom. We still need places for children to be during this process. So a lot of challenges, but I feel we have a community that will support us and try to get it done.
Wow. So that's pretty interesting. 12 on the bus, 15 in the classroom.
And you think most classrooms have 25 to 30 students.
Yeah.
So some students
So will they be
attend
getting
school.
all the requirements they need to graduate if you only come in 2 days a week? I mean,
lots of remote learning. Will go on until something comes up, and you know I feel our children will be fine. But we as adults have to help them. You know, I can't tell you how many letters I received last spring from parents who said, you know, this was hard at first, but I really enjoyed reconnecting with my children. You think we're sending them to baseball and basketball and dance, and we're always busy with something. They're in school. We always have these activities. We're always moving. And oftentimes parents miss out on just conversation.
You know what? That part I agree with. I did get closer to my kids, but I will say my grocery bill doubled with them being home all day.
Yes, that's true.
It doubled.
That's true. That's true.
The other piece of it is that they were getting too creative. You know, they just took over the neighborhood. I mean, it's just too much going on, my kids, right?
Right.
And so while I enjoy them, I miss school. I did.
Yes.
So I get that part about reconnecting. Yeah, we got that. But let me ask you a question. So moving along, so when we talk about going back to school in 9 weeks, and all of these things going to take place as it relates to slowly engaging, a part of my mind is saying, wow, is it worth the risk of sending them back? Do we just scratch this? I mean, I watch a lot of some of the kids were protesting up at the school last week or so. Protests here too, so I guess that line is divided. Some people want schools to open back in the normal setting. I felt sorry for the graduating class this past year. I did. I had a lot of sympathy for them. I went to West Forsyth. My son graduated, and it was kind of strange to do a drive up graduating where he got out of the car, walked up. I don't know. So I guess these are difficult times, unprecedented times, definitely unusual times. So I guess you said it best. We've got to come together. We're going to need everybody to play a role, to do some things. And as you said,
yes, we are, because it depends on. You know, I lost yesterday. I was probably not good to come here yesterday either. Lost a valued community member to COVID. She went out of state and came back with her husband and did not survive. Lost a cousin, an attorney in New York, and we had to participate in a funeral over Zoom. My brother-in-law has lost 4 family members. So in all, there have been 6 people that I personally have been touched by through COVID. And you might say, well, they had actually 2 of them did not have underlying conditions.
To me, a loss is a loss.
A loss is a loss. And so what happens across the district, you have people who've been impacted by this differently. Some people have had no one that they know personally. But the more personal it becomes, the more fear that's out there. So we, the Board of Education and I, of course, it's personal, but we have to certainly keep in mind that school is the best place for children. And depending on the loss that they've experienced will really drive their willingness to reenter the environment. And having had that personal loss or those losses, then I know how they feel. But and knowing that, then I feel that I have a good handle on how to help them transition. Because, you know, I have to go through my own personal hoops to transition myself. So I feel that having that experience, I know exactly I can't certainly know exactly how they feel, but I certainly feel that I can help them transition to a good place. And some people you'll never convince. So that's why we have the virtual academy. We have nearly 6,000 students who've signed up to be on the virtual academy for the remainder of the semester and even the year.
What's a virtual academy? What is
so
that?
That's meaning you're full-time on the you will not return to the schoolhouse. You are at a separate school. You have your teachers face-to-face every day. And so those children, and that's what I feel it's if children have that fear, that personal experience, they're fearful for themselves because of their own immune systems, they've had losses, then they need an opportunity to learn in the way that they choose to learn. And at the same time, I feel that children and teachers who are ready to return to the environment, I owe them the absolute safe the safest environment we can provide, and that does take money. And so I'm looking forward to hopefully some additional dollars from the federal level to help us open safely. Because while I understand the personal piece of it because of my own experiences, I also know that a good place for children to be is with other children, learning with teachers face to face. That's a good place for most of our children to be. And we intend to move in that direction. So after 9 weeks, we want to create a safe environment for children, reduce density in the classrooms, good screening, good contact tracing, and get as many people, teachers and students to return as possible, because that's a good place for people to be mentally and otherwise. And then hopefully as this COVID, as vaccinations come out and better health care, we can transition to a better place.
Well, I gotta ask you this. So in terms of fall sports and things like that, so what's the plan for that? I saw,
yes.
I get my information from my son. He told me that I guess they're starting some type of practice in the next couple of days.
That's right. We had thought about July 6th because, again, I'm a big sports person. And I believe, again, that's good for children to be involved.
You're a basketball fan,
yeah,
right?
basketball
Carolina
fan.
No, I know that, huh?
Yeah, okay. So, and I was nervous to say anything else, but yes.
Yeah.
So I think that good place for children to be, but we have to be safe. So we started our schools workouts in July. That was the plan, July 6th. But our coaches didn't feel they had the equipment, the capacity, or the training to open so quickly to sports. So August 3rd, we'll start the workouts. There'll be very strict requirements because again, safety. We know that teenagers can be rapid spreaders of COVID. They can be asymptomatic and spread the virus very quickly. So there'll be very strict requirements around workouts, spacing, and the numbers of children that can participate at one time. But I think the sooner we can get back to working in a normal if there's ever such a thing as normal.
Right. The new normal.
The new normal, working safely, working through these matters. And someone said, well, if you start sports, why can't we just start school? Logistically, we can start sports. Logistically, we cannot start school. We need more time. And we've been working on a small group of the athletes for 4 weeks now. So I think they've worked out the details so they can remain safe, contact trace, and we'll watch them as they go through this process to learn from them as we open school.
Wow. I want you to know you're doing a phenomenal job. I met all of your coaches, football coaches that is, met with them a month or so ago. Phenomenal people you got working on your staff.
Yeah.
Can you figure out how I can come back every Thursday? I appreciate you letting me go to North Hill, work with my group every Thursday. Can you figure out how I can do that? I mean, I miss those guys.
Well, we're actually going to have virtual volunteers. So we're working through that process.
Volunteer.
You'll log on. We'll set up a Zoom meeting with you or a Microsoft Teams meeting with you and the students. so you can be in touch with the students.
Can I handpick my students again?
Well, the thing that I want,
the superintendent.
The thing that impressed me so much was when you organized the shoe drive, giving the students new shoes. The young man said to you, I remember him walking up to you, and he said, here's my homework. And you said, well, you didn't have to do homework today. He said, but I wanted to do homework. That kind of connection with kids means a lot, and it's important to so many of our children. And I hope we can see more of that. And so we want to facilitate that. Virtual should not stop that. So we'll set you up.
I always talk about, I really appreciate you allowing me to do that every Thursday. That was literally the highlight of my week.
Right.
I look forward to every Thursday going up to North Hills with those kids. Those kids probably added some years to my life. Get to laugh with them, practice public speaking with them,
right.
Just having conversations. I miss them, and I often wonder, where are they? What are they doing now? And a couple weeks ago, I still have the numbers. I started to call them and ask, could I come by their houses? But then I say, if I do that, just so many things with this COVID-19, how am I going to be received? So I say, I guess, you're in a place where you try to figure, okay, what do we do during these times? And I know it's so important as a community that we bond and band together, because this is truly times we've never seen before.
Exactly.
Times we've never seen before. And we have a generation of young men and women out there that we are responsible as adults for educating. We are responsible as adults for preparing them for life. And so I'll say that God bless you, because your hands are full. Lot is depending on your success. We're praying for you. Anything that I can do for you, I'm here for you. I never realized all the details you're dealing with, so many moving parts, that you just talked about. That still just staggers in my mind, 12 on a bus. That bus will run all day. You spend all day trying to get them to school.
Exactly.
With 50,000 students, right?
Exactly.
How many people?
Well, we have about 23,000 that ride the bus riders. But depending on a bus to get students to school, it'll take about 3 hours in the morning for one school, and that's incredible. So parents are going to have to really
that would change the
school
start time, start time to finish, right?
And so basically, we're saying it would be impossible to rely on bus transportation to really get your child to school, which is another inequity, creates another challenge, because children whose parents work early won't be able to get them there. So every
maybe we get the city bus to chip in. Maybe
we thought about that too.
Run some routes
they're willing to help us. They're willing to help us. But every choice breaks your heart, because every choice means that there's a group that's left out of the opportunity for that free, quality public education, and that's what we have to continue to fight for.
So let me ask you a question. So what about like nutrition?
Yes.
So like the kids, like a lot of kids, I was at Philo for several years, and kids come to school, some kids come to school, that's their only meal for the day.
Correct.
So what are we doing about that?
Well, we took buses out to the neighborhoods to deliver meals. Children came to school, they walked to school, their parents brought them to school to pick up meals. But our services were way down. That was surprising to me. And I'm not sure why. But we sent our buses out to the community to deliver meals. So with these centers set up in the community, if centers are come together and we have a center, we will deliver meals to that center. Our bus drivers will continue to serve meals to children. Absolutely. And I will say that a lot of children stepped away from our meals because other organizations were providing meals for children and dinners and everything else. So we have a very giving community relative to food distribution.
Wow.
We really do. There should be nobody in our community that claims hunger, because the schools were feeding children 18 and under to birth, and we had so many people opening up kitchens and pantries for families to to get food during this crisis. And hopefully that will continue. Hopefully that will continue. You know, sometimes we get tired and we start off strong and then we start to go in other directions. But hopefully people will continue to understand families need food. Well,
I'm going to give you the last word, and then I got a question for you. I got to ask of you.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you the matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and put my request in for you. So I got 2 requests to make happen for me. My first request is a simple one. Figure out how to do that Zoom for me, that volunteer Zoom, so I can get my little group together.
Absolutely.
Right? My other question is, can you get your nephew to stop by and be a guest on my podcast? Okay? There can be a surprise guest for him, okay?
I will ask John about that. He actually, you know, his my sister lives in Chapel Hill.
I know.
So he's here frequently, you know.
So you can make that happen for me.
I'll ask him. I'll ask him. I will do that.
Well, with that being said, I'm going to give you the last word then.
Well, I want to thank you, Sheriff. You're a role model for our community and for our children. And you push, you know, and sometimes we're all so busy pushing we forget to say thank you. So thank you for supporting our children and hanging in there with us as we go through changes as an organization as well. And I always want to give honor to our chair, Shay Woodbury, who pushes on me as well. She has an idea a minute. I'm telling you, she's an awesome chair, and her vice chair is Lyda Calvert-Hayes. And they, as a board, push us to do a lot for children. So just know you have a great Board of Education, a great team here, and we support your partnership.
Well, I know your board members. You do have a wonderful board. I appreciate what you do and what they do. You're probably right. I get that all the time. You know, they tell me here all the time. Sometimes I'm demanding. And I just thank God for the opportunity to be here. I thank my commissioners for what they do to make things happen for me. And so I'll say this. I want you to know that we're praying for you. I want you to know that we support you here. Anything that we can do for you here, count us in. Take care of our babies. Keep doing what you're doing. If you ever need us for anything, may God continue to smile upon you, the school system, and this city and this county. As always, thank you for being with us off the cuff. Thank you.